this is the time when then music and art and films and books have the most need, the most power, because if like this is just, music is just making order of chaos.
Hey, it's Scott. My next guest is the iconic lead singer of the band Bush. He is my friend, Gavin Rossdale. He's been on the show 4 times. We have a lot to get into. I love this guy. He's sold over 24 million records. It's going to be an exciting conversation. Thank you for tuning in to Lip Service. And coming up next, Gavin Rossdale of Bush. Welcome back to the show, my friend, Gavin Rossdale. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just appreciating the array of drinks over here.
Yeah,
and
there's
you're
always
doing
lots of
this
goodies
stuff.
when you come join.
What's going to happen?
This is
Do
Magic
I trust
Mind.
you?
Yeah,
of course
trust
I do.
me. Trust me. I promise. No jitters, no caffeine. It's good stuff. You'll feel great. I would never ask you to drink something where you didn't feel good after drinking it. So
It feels healthy.
it is healthy, and
It feels like it's a cross between like healthy and taking a shower all at once.
that's the point.
Very cleansing.
Either way, we love it. So thank you for coming in. By the way, you've had a really busy week. I think you're playing like the top of the Empire State Building this week.
Yeah, it's fun. Been a crazy week. And I left LA just Saturday, and my boy was playing, one of my boys was playing football Saturday night. So I wanted to see some football under the lights. And then I got the red eye. The red eye's quite good, but then you're like just like destroyed the next day.
Feel terrible the next day.
We just like, I can't find, your body parts don't go together right. They just sort of, everything is disconnected, and it's really funny.
And then at like 7 in the morning, you had to be on Kelly and Mark the next day or something, right?
Yeah, I have looked better. I felt like, I felt it was just so much to get my voice together. To do that, to sing, is like, I have to get basically your body's like 3 in the morning, and then you warming up at 4. Oh, it was crazy, but it was good. It was good. It was good fun. So I don't know.
By the way, I want to thank you. You know, we're good friends, but I feel like I don't see you enough. But it's interesting. I as you know, I not long ago lost my dad, and you were one of my friends that called me, and we spoke for like an hour on the phone. So I always really appreciated that. When those things happen in your life, you realize who your real true friends are, and I've always appreciated that call, and just the fact that we have that connection, because there's people I was friends with and like I have businesses with that I never heard from during that time period. Right. So I, more than that meant the world to me. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm so happy to have you here. It's funny. I just had Patrick Carney on, and he was saying that like podcasts are the new magazines, right? Because this is what it becomes, right?
For sure.
You're here doing a bunch of press, right?
Yeah, it's just great, fun to be doing different things. I was on the subway today complaining I had to do some complaints on the subway, which is a really fun way of
What is that? What do you mean?
Talking about hot takes on the subway, and this guy, Kareem, real nice guy. He's got a band, Tiny Gun. And I don't know why I shouted that at you. I'm not mad at you. Sorry, Bowie.
So he filmed Subway.
And he does these skits of where you're, you have to list a couple of things that you're annoyed about. It can be people, it can be songs, it can be movies, it can be anything. So I just had 2 gripes I went on about.
What are they, by the way?
Number 1 was angel hair pasta,
because it's too thin.
It's fucking the worst thing ever, and it's like the sign of a terrible restaurant. And you want to run, it's got like 4 pieces of like the top of a tasteless tomato on it, a couple of basil leaves. You meant to like run with it. So I just hate it. I love all pasta, but angel hair pasta is really is not where it's at. So I was complaining about that because it's a sign of a bad menu for me, or they cater to people that don't like food, something like that.
Although there's a great restaurant, I'm going to digress, called Mamo in Soho that has a great angel hair pasta dish. So I won't recommend that to you.
Yeah,
but
I don't know how it's possible how you get that. By the way,
it's really good.
Can you do that? It's a bit elusive. It's like meeting Elvis.
What was
Are you
number 2?
sure it's going to happen? I don't think it will. When you're driving, you used to obviously live in LA.
Yeah.
Now maybe let you drive a bit less, but I grew up in London, and you got to be just cool when you drive. And so when you let people in, and I'm really generous like that. Like I'm not a jerk. If I'm like, the traffic's slow, I'm going to let someone cross to go through there. Of course, I'm not an idiot. But it really pisses me off when you don't thank me. You know, it's a sort of conditional. It's a bit weak because it's kind of conditional. And life is better when things are in no conditions and you don't take things personally. But stuck in that car, it's like, oh man, I never would have done it. You know, you sort of, the world's meant to exist off of favors on favors. Or kindness on kindness, and, you know, cool on cool. And so when people kind of break that chain, it's disappointing.
And people in LA are terrible. I mean, let's just say it. Like, if someone asked that question to Larry David, by the way, he would hate everything. Right. But I think in LA, like, you get those people, right? You're like being courteous, right. You let them do, and then they still don't thank you.
So it's all good. Yeah. Probably lesson in humility and not taking stuff personally. That's the best lesson ever. When you don't take things personally, life becomes much lighter.
That is true. Do you like coming here? I mean, actually, I don't know if I've ever seen you in New York, because when we were hanging out a bunch, I was in LA. But do you like spending time in New York?
I do like spending time in New York. I have a particular soft spot for Brooklyn.
Really?
I don't know why. I just like it. And so when I've been over here the last few times and played like Jones Beach or something, I'll always be the William Vale around that area. I just liked it. It felt a bit like Manhattan when I first came to Manhattan. I don't know. But really, it's been great because this is like the third promo trip for this tour we're doing in the summer, like really just like working it. And I guess that's how it goes, to sort of promote stuff properly. And yeah, I love coming in, get a jolt of the city. Where else am I going to get like this kind of stuff?
Magic Mind. Probably Irvine. You can get it anywhere.
I'm getting smarter as we speak.
You really are. Well, it's interesting. And I know recently you did this TikTok thing where you like have to guess the song on the street.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah,
and the way that you promote records these days, but you know, let us not talk about the fact that you're playing on top of the Empire State Building, which is insane. What are you doing Glycerine there?
Yeah, weirdly, I'm doing a couple of songs, but with Corey, the bass player in Bush, playing piano. He's a really good piano player. And so I was thinking of different ways of doing. We did Kelly and Mark this week, and I was thinking, just literally, what have we not done? Right. And so we'd never done Come Down and with a piano or Glycerine much.
You had a choir too, right?
We had a choir. Yeah, it was just a really fun. I've been working on different things, and I met someone who I was working with, a coach in New York. He's in Brooklyn. And then when it came up to do something interesting, I thought, what a cool, fun thing to do. Just something I hadn't done, and it's been a great experience. We play again with the choir on Friday.
So what was that like when you first, I mean, it's got to be, because you've done everything, like you said. So doing that, was that something that you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, it's just so uplifting to hear 6 voices singing all different parts of a song that, you know, that we've played a certain way and done a certain way for so long. So it just gives new life. It's just fun and challenging. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's challenging.
And you have this relatively new record. It's the greatest hits. There's so many hits on it. You know, when you go back and you listen to it, you know I'm a fan and a friend, but I was listening to it the other day. I was like, wow, it's so crazy how many incredible songs you have.
Thank you. Yeah, it's useful for me as well. sort of having one spot, having one place. Because I don't never want to do a Grace Hits. I always thought it was a bit of too much of a, okay, that's it now. So I always liked, the challenge of like all the new stuff, you know. And so whilst working on it for a new record, which we are working on, like 5-6 songs in, finished, I was... Katsis, my manager, you know really well, he said...
who you never want to mess with, by the way. He's like Peter Grant or something.
Yeah, so he said, let's do a Greatest Hits, let's celebrate 30 years. And the word celebration was what sold it for me, of like something that should be proud of. In England, we're not really taught to be over proud of much. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, so just move on and just try and do it better and shut up a bit. I don't know. So I'd never really thought about it as much as when you compile it all together. And it's been, you know, it's inspirational for me because in return, it's a weird thing. I see the effect the records had on people throughout their lives, and they get, you know, I get to hear about it when we do these things and stuff like that. So it's very it's a good time for me.
Talk to me about that. Then your music has touched so many people. I'm sure people come up to you, Gab, with these stories that are like, I heard Come Down or Glycerine or
All the
Everything's
time.
Zen or whatever it may be, and it probably changed their life. Are there any stories that you remember from that just really moved you, that how it changed someone's life?
Yeah, I remember there was a show in Omaha a little while ago, and there was a girl at the front who was like sobbing, like really completely, and very beautiful young girl, and it was like, it's one thing if people cry in certain songs or lose and stuff, but she was sobbing the whole time. So we got to figure out, I had someone go check on her, and he came, brought her backstage and checked she's okay. My tour manager, Yvette, she looked after her, and it turned out like her dad was a crazy fan. She'd grown up on Bush. He'd recently passed. So here she was living, who'd become, she was a great band for her and whatever. So I just see these really deep stories of connection that shapes people's, the soundtrack of their life.
Yeah.
And there's all different kinds of aspects, and also people who name, like one of the best things I like about still having hit records is that when people come up to me and they tell me they've named their son after me, I don't feel guilty about it, that I sort of, just drifted off and, screwed it up. It's just like still why they like me in the first place, the band, still strong. And also to get people who've get those hits from the Kingdom or the Art of Survival last few years, it's fantastic when they just like those songs, and then they just like a little bit of digging, streaming, they go, oh look, they got a new record out, oh look, there's all this stuff. So you get this system of younger fan base and people meeting in the middle, it's the fun bit.
And people forget it took you really like 10 years to make it. Were there ever times when you said, I'm going to give this up and just throw in the towel? Because initially everybody turned you down.
Right, yeah, for sure. I think I was just amazingly dumb and like resilient. I don't, it's funny when you're young, if you're like really of a sort of a type A mindset and like really want to make stuff happen, it's not necessarily important that you know exactly what it is, the outcome you're going for, but the principle is you're going to stick to your guns about it. Like I had a principle of sticking to music. I didn't have any jobs, any other aspirational things. I'd never did a job that had a future. So I always did like menial jobs,
Yeah.
building sites, decorating, so that I was just dispensable. And I think that's the only way, well, I don't know how you do it, but that's all I did. And I'm happy that I did that. So there's that sort of madness of youth. It's just sort of like blind madness.
And also you have no fear when you're younger. So you're like, if I fail, I fail, and I'm not going to have a backup plan. But you really didn't have a backup plan.
I didn't have a backup plan. I did. I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of fear because time was, I had a lot of fear. I was thinking about it the other day, because that fear never goes away. As an artist, I think you have to have that sense of not necessarily as bad as imposter syndrome, like you're an imposter, but you can't think you're good all the time. I mean, that'd be like really unhealthy, wouldn't it? I can't imagine that.
Do you have a lot of self-doubt when you're writing songs? I mean, you and I both, I think you're a fan of Curb. I keep referencing it because it's like my favorite show.
because it's the best show.
It's the best show. I don't know if you watched I can do a whole episode about, Curb. But did you watch the Kafkan episode like 2 episodes ago?
No.
It's phenomenal. You're gonna.
He is literally the funniest man I know. So I can't wait.
So I feel like you and I bond over that. But did you have some self-doubt when there were some of your biggest songs on this record? I still have that. My friend Grant Achatz, the chef, he sent me a great list the other day about creativity, and I have an idea, I'm going to pursue it. This is going to work. This is not going to work. I'm an idiot. Why did I? Hang on, there's something interesting here. Wow, I love this. And this is this like roller coaster that I think that I go on as a creative person. And I think it doesn't really matter how you get there actually, and everyone just has different systems. Obviously, all that matters is what you end up with, and if the record's great, the record's great. But my personal thing is to be full of
riddled with self-doubt at times, and then other times riddled with like, you know, confidence that's just like just feels that's where it should go, you know. So, and it's forever that you know, riding that duality in life is what it's about.
Yeah, were there songs on this record, particularly this greatest hits, that you're at the time of writing them, you were like, "There's no way." Like, I know Glycerine, I think the rest of the band was speaking while you were trying to write it. You're like, "Hey guys, I think this one could be good. Could you be quiet for a moment?"
Well, the funny thing is, the annoying part is that as a writer, you want to wait around so that if you take 5-10 minutes to write a song, it's not those 5 or 10 minutes. It's like the years you put into being of that mindset. So I never found particularly writing songs so hard, but just waiting around for, I mean, getting in an organized way of writing is sort of helpful. But no, they weren't too bad. They weren't too bad to come by. Like I always got something, but sometimes I say if I can't think of anything, actually, I would just do my exercises just to write something shit. Be like, just accept it. Just like write a piece of rubbish. Who gives a fuck? Just like get from A to B to C and just get to the end. And then by then you sort of have like a personal sense of like, you know, of self-respect, some degree of self-respect. So you're trying to make it decent, whatever. And so then might be that stepping stone to something else that's really good. So, and I find especially writing that it's about being in there, for a few days and like getting that writing muscle going. You know, that's why these writers that write with different people, they're so good and so quick. I think because they're sort of writing fit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Did any of those like rubbish songs turn out to be the songs that did well for you?
Here and there, but generally no. Generally I was right, they were rubbish. But it got me going, you know.
It did,
and I like that thing. I mean, I have a creative life based on Francis Bacon and his aesthetic, the English painter, and like I think there's nothing better in a week than to sort of start 5 songs and at the end of the week, check them on a Friday, see where you're at, and then just get rid of 2 and just feel like looser and like, oh yeah, and you got, you know, maybe keep 1 or 2 jewels within those songs, but just keep the 2. So you keep editing yourself all the time.
So you're writing like every day to this point. Are you still doing it so much?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm in the process of writing a record, we're doing a record now, so I'm in a bit of that process now, but traveling as well. So
yeah. Is it hard to write on the road for you? Do you just kind of put it aside until you get home?
I put it aside, but the thing is, then you can do great things. You know, I saw Poor Things yesterday. I went to the movies and watched that.
Best movie of the year.
Absolutely brilliant. You know, everyone's brilliant. William Dafoe. It's really, really good. So, of course, and everyone knows that. So that was just a great fun thing to do. So, you know, it's just as important to see what's going on. I saw Jonas Ackerland's movie, Jules, which is a modern dance piece. He's done this Icelandic, about 3 dance companies from Iceland. He saw their dances and he turned it into a movie. So those kind of things, just like, you know, they're so inspirational. It's just wild. I mean, like, it just is incredible. So I think it's you have to take stuff in as well as write stuff out. I see not much to write about.
I mean, Poor Things isn't an inspiration for a song. I don't know what it is, because that movie was incredible. The whole movie.
Yeah, so powerful, just so strong and just hilarious and brilliantly, just really a fantastic film. Yeah. My friend said it redefined cinema, and it just was an incredible film.
I agree
with you.
It was an
incredible film.
Well, you have this amazing journey. You know, we've spoken so many times, but I don't think I've ever asked you along the way. They always say, like, never meet your idols. And I know that you've, like, come into contact with a lot of them. You're friends with half of them. So talk to me about some of the people you met along the way. I know you and Bowie, who's probably your biggest inspiration in a way. You kind of had this great relationship with him, too, at some point, right?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, I'm always, like, careful to kind of to qualify that with, I'm sure that I know that he was friendly with a lot of people, so it's not like a exclusive thing in any way, but I just enjoyed the time that I had with him. And I think it's because he's just really funny. He's so creative, and the whole art, aesthetic, literature, books, it just was so fun to have that stuff, you know, such a cultural man, you know?
Yeah, it's funny, I actually managed Amon for probably 15 years, and I only met Bowie for about 3 seconds. She really like kept it separate. But yeah, so you also have I think, again, along the way, I know that Bono, big inspiration for you too, and you definitely met him.
I spent a lot of time with Bono, and And again, he has a lot of friends.
Yeah,
so
a lot of friends.
He has a lot of friends. Very friendly guy.
Did you go to the Sphere?
I absolutely went to the Sphere. I had a show in Vegas, happened to do a show, some private thing and a corporate thing, and I got invited to go see them. So went to see the Sphere, and it is just phenomenal. And it's weird because I've seen them a couple of years ago or years before. Anyhow, they were on. It was just spectacular. I loved it, and he's a lot of fun. And I don't know if you've had him on here, but an incredible storyteller and great perspective on life and the opposite of a disappointment.
When you get a text from him, are you still like kind of, it's weird, like it's Bono's? Are you at that point in your friendship with him? You play music for him, right? You've hung out with him a bunch.
Yeah, there's a good story that, and I'm fucking annoyed because I let go of those speakers. I never should have done that. So I had some really nice speakers in my studio, but there was a story about like one time I was playing him a record, and he played me a U2 record. And when he was playing me, when I played him my record I was working on, I was like, it was frustrating that he could still speak to me. I could still hear him with a speakers. They weren't loud enough to drown him out because he's just, you know what I mean?
Shut up, Rick.
So I ended up getting these ATC 150s, and they're like the powerhouse, the best speaker in the world. And I got a pair of those so that I never had to hear anyone ever again over a mix because it was physically impossible to be loud on those speakers.
You're like, if you come back, there's no way I'm letting you talk over this.
It's just a funny thing that I just ended up getting loud. I was like, I've got to get speakers that are fucking louder. But yeah, so I haven't actually seen him in a while, but it's always fun when I do.
And the Sphere, is it really like, I always feel like you're not really focused on the band, you're more focused on the environment. Would you say that's, because I haven't gone.
It depends, because like for me, you know, that catalog, that band is too genius for me to ignore. And so, yeah, it is funny to have that moment where you look up and you're in an experience the size of those walls, that ceiling, and you look down, it's just human beings. I mean, it could be 4 Tarzans. Right. You know what I mean? Really impressive. It could be, you know, Arnold and his height, 4 of them on stage, you know, like buff, but they still look small if you can't help with that perspective, because that's the truth. But the songs and the staging and the musicianship and Bono singing as good as ever, it was really like uplifting in that sense. And then they do, have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Because they do this wild thing, the wildest thing, I don't want to tell you, and then no one dies, is that the way that at some point, I don't want to sort of give it away, but at some point it switches through all the madness to the street outside.
Oh, wow.
So it's as if you opened a window. So it just becomes this like, it's the reality, but it's just like, it's fake reality, of course. And it's just mind-blowing. I mean, there's 1,000 things that are spectacular about it. But when you can play where the streets have no name, you know, you got a head start on the attention front.
Definitely.
So,
did you ever think about doing a Vegas residency, or is that not in the cards? Because I feel like every band at some point is doing a residency there, and that would probably be great. You don't have to like bring in the equipment every day.
Oh, I'd love to. That would be that'd be easy. That would be a dream.
Yeah. Is it something you thought about? I'm sure Katz is probably drumming something up at the moment as we speak.
They're the kind of things you hear about.
Yeah.
You know, they're sort of banded about. It's like, you know, the Green Day stadium support slot is like bouncing around. You hear about it.
Right. It's all happening. Were there ever times when life kind of fell off the reins for you and you thought maybe it wouldn't get back on track? Because obviously you've had this incredible career of 30 years.
Yeah.
So did that ever happen to you along the way? Because obviously every band has its highs and lows, and you know, it's interesting. You've maintained this incredible career 30 years into it. A lot of rock bands can never say that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. The way I see it is there's other people who have had longer careers, and so I just sort of temper it with the same thing with success or something like that.
Well, 30 years is a long time.
It is a long time. It is a long time. I think that it just comes down to it that the connection that we have with people that give us an audience, you know, the people that like this band, maybe relate to stuff that I've written about and just are connected so deeply with it that it's just this wild journey. But also having said that, you know, by having, you know, successful hit records at radio still, after this last record, last 3 records, that gives a new audience. So I don't know, it's also a mixture. The main thing is just to still love it. Like I still love it. Like it's elusive, you know, that alchemy of a really amazing lyric and, you know, amazing chord round, and suddenly, you know, your drummer's playing a certain way, that alchemy of a band coming together, just like, fuck, this is so much fun, you know? So that's what is inspiring about it. And that's why, for instance, I probably didn't want to do greatest hits too quick, and why I just always talk about I want to do the new record, because I like that keep going thing and just sort of pushing it and having fun with it.
But the new records have hits too, which is amazing. So
that's what I mean. That's what's so wild about it. That's why, and I love it when those people that help get those hits and going and request them on the radio, come to shows, when they then uncover that there's a whole vat of music to dip into, you know? It's cool.
Obviously, you started your career in the 90s. There's this huge, you know, renaissance revival about the 90s. Do you look back on it and think great times, or were you too busy at that point to really kind of enjoy it?
I loved it, because the best part about it was that was when that was the culture, you know. It's no lie or trickery for us to admit that it's the counterculture again, like it maybe was before. You know, here you are in New York, you know, CBGB's, the whole, you know what I mean, Lower East Side. This is where sort of punk began.
Yeah, you played CBGB's.
As the first show we ever did.
I never went.
Tour. It was skinny, long, bar, and beaten up, and just, you know, one toilet for everyone, band and
probably a pretty
punters.
Dirty toilet, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's filthy. It's like it was a shithole, but it was our shithole. No, it was amazing. You know what I mean? It was just the history of it spoke for itself. But it was originally it's a bluegrass club, right?
Well, now it's John Barbados, which is weird because, I mean, I love John Barbados, but he's not even part of his brand anymore.
It's not even John Barbados. It's so wild. It's so
Fred something, I don't know.
Watered down, you know, diluted. But it, you know, it was fantastic to play there. And every club we played on that tour, because we sort of went on tour for 3 years on that when the record first came out. And so we did about 10, 12 months of clubs. And every club we played was where anyone that you and I would love had played there. Every single band. Because, you know, me growing up, we didn't know about big places, you know, like the cool bands played the clubs.
Yeah.
It's clubs. There's never like, even theaters was like, oh man, we're going to be a theater band now? I remember I thought the second record, I was like, wow, I almost have to lay off do I need to lay back a little bit because now we're in theaters, we graduated to sort of that. So.
Do you enjoy the clubs more than the bigger venues because you're so close to the audience and you feel that energy?
I love the sweat and I love the proximity, but no, the big shows, just the sound, the roar of the crowd, it's like a fucking crazy lion, you know what I mean? So not a lion. The sound of a crowd is like nothing else, you know what I mean? So I feel a bit maybe a bit shallow on this one, but yeah, the bigger the crowd, the more fun. Like, wow. Do you know what I mean? You play those festivals in Europe, you see like 60,000 people out there, 250,000 people at Woodstock, I suppose. But yeah, wherever, just those big crowds are real fun. In a way, they're a different thing, though, aren't they? You've done them with Hole, where it's just like, oh my God, there's Ross Kilder, those ones where it's 60,000 people in the bowl, and you're just like, I used to think like, imagine being the person that's like stuck right in the center, the complete axis of the place, you know?
What's strange is the bills too. Sometimes you'll be on with like a band that you never thought you would play with ever. And you play with a lot of heavy bands too on these shows. But actually your musical taste, I feel in the last 10 years has veered a lot heavier. Would that be correct in saying that?
Yeah, give me Sepultura any day of the
Mastodon
week. Mastodon, the Deftones,
Why do you think that is? Because I feel like you definitely have gone heavier. Because, you know, initially early on you wrote ballads and now it's like you love the heavy stuff.
I love the ballads too because I like the sad songs a lot. I'm a sucker for a sad song.
With the super heavy stuff now too.
Well, I did 1,000 Years on last record with Amy from Evanescence.
Yeah, you played that for me backstage.
Right. She sang on me with that song. And so that's a detuned sad, sort of like softer song.
Yeah.
So I love melody, that. So I think it's always all the stuff that I love. The heaviest is still when the vocals are recognizable and you're into them. It's Sepultura's roots. It's like because we just got the hook. It's Pantera. When you know the hooks of things, it helps me. I love Slipknot. I think they're an amazing band.
Not a lot of melody in Slayer, though. Some of the bands that are very heavy, right? It's hard to find the melody.
But then
there.
what I find interesting to me is there's loads of bands where I just prefer the music. There's loads of bands, and then the music gets me going, and then the trick is the desire is to find that melody and put it on there, because it's quite difficult to find it. It's elusive, because they're not meant to go together. So that's the challenge,
As a drummer, I can't watch some of those heavy bands because I don't think I could ever play like that. So it's sort of
double bass drum.
No, it's impossible. Those blast beats, it's impossible. So I just kind of given up on watching any of that. But let's talk about the stories, Gab, behind some of the songs on this record, because obviously some of these songs are so iconic. And I think a lot of times, like I said, I was mentioning Glycerine, and even the fact that I heard you telling the story the other day when you were writing this, like I'd mentioned, the rest of the band was kind of talking over. You were like, is it not correct? You were like, hey, guys.
Yeah, not quite. Well, it was what happened is I wrote it in my house, and it just was a fun one because it just came out nice and fluidly. And so it was quick to write. And when I went to play it to them that night at rehearsals, I thought they were being like disrespectful. First of all, I want to know whose song was I playing, because it sounded too accomplished or didn't sound like something I'd written before. So I thought it must be somebody else's. And so I was like, break it to me. What song is this? So everyone's at first like looking at it like, sort of like one-eyed cat, just trying to like figure out which part of it was open to scrutiny in someone else's song. And so halfway through the song, they went, no, that's yours. And then they broke off to like chat about something else. And I was like, well, you might want to hear the end of it. If you think it's ours, because we should do something with it. And in fact, when we recorded it for 16 Stone, originally there was drums going to be on there. And what happened is I went to record it and we just decided to do it without drums. But halfway through, there's a moment in the song where the guitar gets much heavier, goes even heavier than it is. It's not normal to have a song like a ballad where you're just playing with a distorted guitar. But I did it in preparation to play with the drums, and then the other guitar I added on was that when it just got bigger with the band, but we'd just left the band off.
Do you have so there was never a version recorded with drums, actually?
No, it was sort of set up. The demo, it just was set up for the drums, and once I recorded the guitars like that, and then I sang it, they was like, well, maybe it's a bit more interesting like this. We've got drums everywhere else, and so it was that simple fact.
And if the band only knew that song would help propel
you could say it would be more normal to take a song like that and do it on a clean guitar.
True.
Or an acoustic. Like people say do an acoustic version of it. Like, people don't realize because it's so deep in their DNA. It's got a chunky guitar with it, chugging along with it. And that makes it completely different from anything else because that just, I hope, because,
Although there was this idea, I think you and Corey had spoken about doing like a small tour of just taking these songs and kind of reimagining them, right? Because like Come Down, when I saw it, I think this morning, what you did on Kelly and Mark, again, it's like, I think Corey's on piano, there's a choir. So that is something you want to do at some point, maybe do like a little tour of... Yeah,
we hadn't thought about the choir just yet. We probably thought it's just the two of us, but me and Chris, we'd done that. We used to call it shush. Because we'd do like so many acoustic shows, and for radio stations, prize ones. I'm doing this tour this summer. Don't know why I'm overreaching so much. It's annoying. I annoy myself, but we're having these VIP meet and greets, and we're going to do 4 songs acoustically for that super group of people that come and see us at whatever time it is and before the show. So it's almost like the matinee show.
Do you like doing those meet and greets, or is it
I
weird?
like the meet and greets. I don't know why I suggested singing.
I think Kiss was doing those. There are a bunch of bands that actually do them.
No,
before
I heard
the show.
I nicked it. I told Ben from Breaking Benjamin, I said, listen, that's a really good idea and I'm going to nick it because I think it's really nice for your fans. When you're headlining, you can do that. When you've been either co-headlining or supporting people, you have no rights. Don't get rights. So I had no rights. But I was impressed because you know what? People loved it. Their fans, Breaking Ben's fans, were just really grateful to see their band in a really relaxed way. 3-4 songs and chatting, taking questions, and just being really friendly. It really was nice. It was inspiring. So this is the last time I'm going to give him props for it because from here on in, it's my idea.
You're also bringing out, you have this incredible relationship with Jerry Cantrell and Alice in Chains. And I guess back in the 90s, you knew them, but it wasn't like you were close with them.
Yeah, I think in the 90s, when I'd see them, it's funny because I do remember him always being really friendly to me and sort of gave me his number and we're going to swap. But at that point, everyone was so busy. The only time you'd see each other was at a Grammy event or festivals.
You weren't cooking him dinner.
I was not cooking him dinner, but I would. And we've become good friends. You know, we opened for Alice last summer, and then this summer Jerry's coming with us. And so I would go on stage. It'd be one of my funnest lines ever. Would be like being backstage with a bunch of friends and saying, "Listen, I've got to go. I'm singing with Alice in Chains. I'll be back in a minute." Yeah. And I go and sing with them and just playing with that band. Powerful, strong band. That was a thrill. So more friendly with them now, but then it was like, how could you not respect them? You know, I was thinking, so I always have to be asked about lists of songs or this and that. And like, Man in the Box was the most massive signpost for me as someone who loved punk music, going into post-punk. And how do you do rock music where you can perform and be wild? And that was when Britpop was really happening in England. And it wasn't as exciting as I thought some of the sound I was hearing from America and the performances that people were doing. So that's why I like the heavy guitar, you know?
Was there any kind of camaraderie between, because obviously Nirvana and of course Pearl Jam and all these bands, Soundgarden, but did you feel any type of camaraderie back in the day other than seeing Jerry and be like, hey, it's great to see you at an award show?
Yeah, not really, because we probably, you know, we kind of came in a bit like stealth-like, but you know, we confused a lot of people. Yeah. So I'm sure there's areas of that crew that well, probably don't care anymore, but I think it was a lot to handle or a lot to sort of. You know, it's a lot to take on. Like, the fuck are these guys?
Was it more competitive back in the day, would you say?
I think everything, life was more competitive, especially for bands, because you would get played against each other with journalists and I mean, this is spin, you know, like, it's like, this was a very, it was a volatile playground.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the stakes were high. I mean, we took ourselves seriously enough that it mattered what everyone said, you know. Now maybe there's like, we all talk, we just look at our phones, it's like, let it go, you know, we've all got gurus on our phone, you know, I'm not my mind, let it go. So you're like, fuck it. But back in the day, you'd read a comment, you're like, that fucker, and you'd like want to fucking kill someone. And
now you're all in like health and wellness groups together or something.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how things work out. It means you just got to be cool the whole time because you know, taking things too personally can end up in a negative consequence. So yeah, it was like part of the culture was a bit stronger there. So I think things were more at stake, and now it's just things are less important. I mean, there's terrible things going on in the world. Yeah. So it's really kind of, there always were, of course, but somehow
it feels more dooming. I feel like I don't know where we're going from here, but it doesn't feel great. I mean, there's an election coming up. I don't know what's going on. It's just crazy what's going on in the world.
Well, you know what? This is the time when then music and art and films and books have the most need, you know, the most power, because if like, this is just, music is just making order of chaos.
True.
right?
Very true. Well, talk about the record for a second. When you look back on this record, are there any tracks that you feel like are underrated or you appreciate them more now? Come Together is on the record too, which I think you actually recorded like 10 years ago.
It's
Not
pretty
that you
funny.
wrote that, but
Yeah. I guess we just had that song, we hadn't put it out, but I think it's like brilliant. It's not my idea, but what a brilliant marketing is. Again, it was Katz's to put on your greatest hits, just include one Beatles song. So good.
hey, it works, you know?
It's so Katz's. It's so good.
But when you think about the record, are there songs that you feel like maybe were underrated or weren't appreciated as much back then, or every song to you kind of means a lot at this point?
Well, I think there's certain records. I think we did one record on Atlantic that was a disaster. It just didn't get off on the right foot, and it was unfortunate. And that was Golden State. So that's a sort of an underrated record or underknown. But I'd made that record, Institute, in
sure.
2005, and so that was a really fun record. And completely, I accept it was not successful commercially, but it's definitely one of the best records I've ever made. So it just sometimes you make something that has a great deal of success, and you feel, oh wow, I sold 10 million copies, or you do something like Golden State that probably did not sell that many, but the songs on it that are really cool. And my main thing is like songs that I wish I'd just improved a little better, or just sometimes like, oh, I wish I just shortened that. Generally, it's a case of I wish I shortened songs.
Yeah. Well, I just saw you play not long ago. I saw you at Irving Plaza. A phenomenal show, by the way. Are there any times when you're playing a show and you're like, I just really don't want to play Glycerine or whatever it may be? Or do you love playing all the songs? Because there are a lot of artists, I won't name them, but I know that some of them incredibly well, that hate to play the hits. But you play, every show is chock full of hits. So it's incredible.
Yeah, I sort of think of it as an audience member more than as suiting myself, honestly. And I just think that just because you're playing in a smaller place than you played the night before, smaller town, and you want to take your foot off the gas because you're like, now you're in Fremont, Ohio, and does it really matter? We got to take a night off of this. You know that you're shortchanging someone, and I think the shows are long enough that you can still pepper in. We still play loads of new songs. Like, we're still a bit annoying, more erring on the side of new songs, like believing in ourselves enough to put those new songs in.
But some of them are hits, so it's not.
Yeah, no, for sure. There are loads of them are hits. There's 2 songs that we didn't even come out as singles that we do like. There's one song, Blood River, and one song, Quicksand, that were not even singles. So those 2 have just like consistently shown up like a couple of bouncers that no one can stop coming on the set list. Just people can't stop. Because when you play the songs, people are like, fuck. So it really has a fun effect. But yeah, I think that it's a real balance of if you take it, make people come to the shows, and what do you want them to experience? What do they come in? They have a certain mindset. This is their escape. You're their escape. They've bought the tickets 6 months ago. They built up for this. They've been listening to your songs recently. They have a drive. They're having dinner. It's very focused on the show, and so. We're thinking about that, and just how again, going back to the U2 thing, people always talk about U2 as almost a religious experience when you go see them. And, just the connection they have to the audience. And I just aspire to that. I'm not there, obviously, but I do my thing. And it's just really connecting with the people, connecting with the crowd, and sort of respecting the history that we have. And so if you take that in mind, and that's the focus, to make that person, any seat, just have an incredible time. And then, like a maniac, if I see one person out of a face of 10,000 people who's yawning or looking at their phone, I'm just like, fuck, I've got to work this area. Yeah. This dude is like, I've lost him. Where's he gone?
Doesn't happen often.
So of course it does, happens all the time. So again, that goes hand in hand. Then just the idea of not playing the big song. I saw a friend of mine, or a guy I know. I don't know if we're friends, but we're acquaintances. And we played lots of shows together back in the day. And I went to see his show for kicks a little while ago, for old time's sake. And they're a great band. I love them. And
can you say who it is?
No, because I'm about to say he introduces the hit song they had as this is the Rent Payer. I was like, that's so cynical. Yeah, and like, what's wrong with rent?
Yeah, everyone needs to pay their rent.
So it's like, so I'm like the opposite of that. I think that, and I don't think of them as like children. That's nuts. People like, it's your babies. They're songs, but you know, they've just done so much for us that I like playing them. And if there's a couple that I get I've gotten tired of, like this song like Swallowed or Greedy Fly that kind of I drop and I come in and out. But then when you play them again, they're really fun. You just rediscover. I think if you get bored of them, it's like sort of being bored of your partner.
Yeah.
In a way, it's your fault.
You got to figure out how to reinvent it.
It's your fault.
Is it crazy that 16 Stone is like 30 years old to you? Do you actually process that and think, or you don't really think about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think about it due to the number of times I get asked about it. So, of course, I don't think about it because life is so precious, you know, as we know. You know, hard for you, you lost your father, and things happen in life so unexpectedly.
Yeah.
That the truth is that none of us know how long we have in any capacity, really, because of terrible things that happen. So it's always about getting the most out of it, just getting the most out of it. And I think that the biggest sort of drawback or thing to be avoided is to not get the most out of as much as you can all the time.
Yeah. Do you still enjoy touring? Because I know some people fly, some people take a bus. I don't like flying, so this whole Boeing thing that's going on is scaring the shit out of me. With like the whistleblower ended up dead. I don't know what's going on, but it's scaring the hell out of me. Like I don't even like flying at all.
Well, I'm not snitching on anyone, so okay.
But do you enjoy touring now? And do you prefer the bus to like flying around?
I love playing music and I love shows and I get on with my band and I just love the sort of the degrees of levels of excitement that we have. You know, all these bands that you get to interview on the show, which is, by the way, congrats, it's doing so well. Everyone's great. All the interviews are great. All the people are great. So every single person you have on here.
You're my friend, so you have to say that. But if you were my friend,
I saw you guy with from the Idols dude, and
he's fairly political, so he doesn't joke around much, but great band.
He's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And like the music world needs people like him.
Definitely.
He's really, really good. And he'll tell you that, I suppose, like everyone, it's just the buzz of an audience, you know, it's nothing like that. I make jokes when I go home with my kids, you know, bring in dinner. I'm like, listen, where's the applause? It's always like being home. I miss the applause, you know, but...
We got to talk about, I was of your house. I don't know if it was like a couple years and I know you talk about this a lot, but you are this incredible chef. We share a love of food. We were just chatting a minute ago because we actually ate, I think the first time we actually had a proper meal, we ate sushi together, but you're like, I don't really love sushi that much. But there is this, I was over your house. It was this incredible meal. I know, you know, something you do for your friends, but man, there's a real passion there. Everything you do, Gav, is like it's like almost like Japan. If you like belt buckles, there's a guy that does it there to the utmost degree. Yeah. So your 4 or 5 passions you do incredibly well. Talk to me about cooking and what it means to you, because I think the show's going to get made.
You know what I did give up for a few years, and I've taken it back up, and I'm had a great time this last few weekends ago. Tennis. Because I'd given it up, and I remember when we ended up on the same court.
I was like, I am not playing Gav. And then I text you, I'm like, we should play together. No, I'm not playing with him.
But you said,
you're like a pro.
You said you even got the shoes. I was like, how low was your threshold? You're brilliant. It was amazing.
I played next to you, and for the record, I don't know. The editor has been Dan, music editor, Daniel Cohen. He texted me. He's like, "Can we play tennis with Gavin?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I'm not. And now I see you're actually.
I'm actually going on Thursday. I'm playing Randall Island. Hopefully definitely with Patrick and John, doing the McEnroe brothers.
Amazing. Well, you're literally like a professional. It's crazy to me.
But I'm not. But I mean, I have a lot of fun with it, and. So to your point, I just try and do a couple of things well.
Well, you do it very well. So the cooking show, would that be coming? I think it's going to come out. I'm sure it's going to come out sooner or later.
So close to getting the finalizing of the budget or the money.
Yeah.
So I'm there scheduling to shoot another 4 episodes in May and June. But I may end up doing another broadcast with you if I can before that show gets shot.
100%.
So TV's nuts to get made, so I don't know.
Well, you were an incredible cook, and I would, by the way, anytime you want to invite me over, because I love food, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, but you and I share that passion. But let's talk about the tour for 1 second. It kicks off like July 26th in Oregon and finishes at the Greek, I think, which is amazing, September 15th. What an iconic venue.
I love it, and the idea of finishing that tour and then going home from there, that'd be a big night.
That's a show I want to come out to. So if I
Great.
don't, I think I'll have to come out to LA
Absolutely.
for that. But let's talk about our top fives. We always do this stuff. We were just talking about a minute ago. People love these. They go nuts for them. They debate them for hours.
Oopsie.
So let's start with, I guess, because something that we're both, as we were speaking about, passionate about, your top 5 LA restaurants, Gavin Rossdale, starting with number 5.
I have seen the show many times, so I know people talk about no particular order. So I wasn't prepared for this. I slightly prepared for I thought about best songs. I totally got it.
No, we're not done. We're just starting.
Okay. So if I was thinking about, I like
this is LA.
Ibaldi.
This is LA.
This is Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Los Angeles food.
Ibaldi,
Ibaldi.
number 5.
No, can I just do them? Can I tell you the order after?
Sure.
Tell the names
Okay.
because I'm doing a stream of conscious.
Okay.
What I really do truly think is the greatest.
Great restaurant.
Ibaldi.
Is that the Santa Monica one or the one in Beverly Hills?
Beverly Hills.
Okay.
I like Funky.
Evan Funky, who also has Mother Wolf.
Mother Wolf,
Yeah.
which would make the list, but it seems I don't want just want to go there. Adam Perry Lang, Pop-Ups.
Haven't been there.
He is phenomenal. You find him online. I got it for game day for the Super Bowl. Got a load of different food. The most incredible, oh my God, the greatest cookies of all time. Miso chocolate chip. Those are not the cookies. I brought 4 with me. Miso chocolate chip, which was I just was better than everything. The better the restaurant, the better the dessert.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
If you go to a restaurant where the food blows you away, the pastry chef always comes and wins.
You taught me how to cook eggs. To this day, I'm cooking eggs and Gavin was low and slow. Take it off the flame, but
just like love.
Yeah.
So so then Funky, which is you have Mother Wolf, but Evan Funky he does these Roman style pizzas, which I love, the really, really thin ones. And it's just a phenomenal restaurant. He's a phenomenal chef. It's just brilliant.
Have you tried the pizza rosa at Mother Wolf? Because that's the best thing there. It's like the tomato pie.
I don't know.
Next time you go, get that.
So it's just the tomato pizza?
Yeah, but for some reason it's the best thing there. I don't know why, but it is.
Yeah,
great.
I usually overorder. I'm the king of overordering. Yeah. So, but there, I love Matsuhisa.
Yeah, classic Nobu.
Because I don't know if it should be on the top 5, but I really like it because the mushroom soup is crazy. And then Asanibo, which is in the valley, which is my favorite Japanese probably.
I think I saw you there. I'm pretty sure I saw you there.
Yeah, Asanibo
is
is just incredible. It used to have a Michelin star, but it's and then that's 4.
Was that 5? I'm so bad at counting.
That was 4. It was 4. It was Funky, Ibaldi, Adam Perry Lang, Asanibo.
Matsuhisa.
Matsuhisa is incredible. It doesn't need me to say anything. So let me think about one other one that's kind of a bit more... it's a bit more fun. There's a place called Daichan. Because I do love Japanese food. And this is what Daichan is like a Japanese, almost like a cafe.
Where is that?
It's in Studio City.
Oh.
And it's on Ventura. And that has, it's run by these amazing Japanese women. And it's basically it's not more than a smaller cafe. It's home cooked. So it's super home cooked Japanese food. So it's kind of interesting, and it's definitely an acquired taste. The sort of, but it's brilliant. I love it. So that would be one, and it's smaller, so it needs more love.
No question. Well, that's a place I got to go to because I feel like I've been to a lot of the places on the
Right.
list, but I also haven't been to those pop-ups. Let's talk about the top 5 frontmen of all time, according to Gavin Rossdale. I know you talked about some of your idols and some of the people that you know very well at this point.
Well, top 5 frontmen. Well, I think that the mystery, the mystique, and the perfection of Hendrix makes, you just immediately go to him on his knees playing guitar with the guitar on fire or setting the guitar on fire or whatever. Just his feel, even with Band of Gypsies, just the way he was on stage and the fluidity of him on stage.
And the charisma.
Yeah, absolutely. He was beautiful and soft. He had a softness to him.
Yeah.
And I think that was...
Listen to Little Wing, right? What an incredible song.
Yeah, it's just there was a I'm not even spiritual that much, but there was a soul to him, and there was a feeling that just everybody connected to, which is why everybody loves him. It's hard to not love. I think that growing up at a certain time, Johnny Lydon being in the Sex Pistols, created based on Rich the Third,
Yeah.
And just creating a persona and just seeing somebody like that, huge effect on me growing up in England, just like a powerhouse, more than the Clash. You either like the Pistols or the Clash. And I still love the Clash because who doesn't love White Riot?
Yeah.
But I was just Sex Pistols.
Well, it all started with the Pistols and the Ramones.
So,
right?
So I think that Johnny Lydon, what a frontman. Prince, the consummate showman,
Yeah.
The most incredible singer, dancer, choreographer, writer, bass player, whatever.
Played every instrument.
Whatever he needed to do, he
Yeah.
did the best. So he was something else.
We got two more.
Two more. I think that Patti Smith
Incredible.
has a power and a charisma and a history that just unites, young and old and people who have a heart,
Yeah.
And so there's something about her that's just so iconic that when she's on a stage, she is like, pulls you in. So she would have to be on there.
And your number one, maybe in no particular order, but maybe your number one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, I feel like you might have forgot someone with the initials DB, but I don't want to say anything,
Right. Yeah. Well, maybe I left it open for him.
Right.
When Bowie would come on stage, it was talking about elevating people because everyone loved David Bowie. So I'd give him number one spot and someone I'd most like to see again if you could.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll all see him in heaven. Who knows? But this is a pleasure, Gavin. We got to do this again for sure.
Anytime.
I actually want to hang out with you besides the podcast. There's a tour coming up, so make sure you buy tickets to the tour. Bush.com, everything Bush related.
Bushofficial.com, I think it is.
Bushofficial.com. And also the record, pick up the record. If people pick up records these days, stream it, listen to it, wherever you get your records. Is it coming out on vinyl? Is it on vinyl?
Yeah.
It's on vinyls, everything.
Yeah, because yes, it is on vinyl. It was going to be 4 more songs, but they didn't fit the vinyl. So apparently it's going to be a deluxe version of the greatest hits.
Well, I'm proud to call you a friend. You're a stellar individual and someone that I love very much. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, my brother.
You're the best. Appreciate it.